Hi all, this is a video going over how to use the random orbital sanders here at MakeHaven. So the random orbital sanders live down here. We have about 4 of them, plus or minus, depending on, what kind of, how we're doing. They have Velcro on the bottom, so they take Velcro backed sanding discs that stick on here, just like this one. They're available in the MakeHaven store. Obviously you're welcome to get your own. Make sure to get the 8-hole kind, so that they line up with the 8 holes on here that the dust gets sucked through. And then to stick the discs on, you just get them lined up with those 8 holes. And it can take a little bit of doing. I'm trying to show you and see at the same time, but I'm going to just line it up where I can see. Alright, so you get it slapped on there, nice and centered, all the dust holes are lined up. There's this dust bag on here. This is not great, so it's definitely preferable to hook up a shop vac. So here we have a dust extractor, and you can just stick it right in there and it'll snug up in there. We'll look at some of the other pieces on this guy. So on-off on the front, off is this way, on is this way, with a little rubbery switch. Then we have speed on the side here. There's a few different, you have some Makita, some DeWalt, they're all functionally the same. The speed goes from 1 up to 6. You'll get a kind of a sense. I don't know if there are any really hard rules for what speeds you want to do for what. In general, I'd say you probably want it somewhere between 3 and 6. Maybe a lower speed for higher grit, and the higher speed, maybe the lower speed for the lower number grit, where you're taking off more, and then you really want that super high vibration when you're doing the higher number grits. But it's the kind of thing you can just get a feel for. I'd say and just to cover the grit numbers, the lower the number, say a number like 40, would have a very few number of grits per square inch, meaning it removes a lot of wood, gives a really big grits. A high number like 400 would have a lot of little grits in 1 square inch, and so that would mean that it leaves a smoother finish. You have to go from one to the next. You can't jump from 40 to 120, because the 40 will leave big scratches that the 120 won't be able to take out. So you have to move slowly through the numbers. Sandpaper wears out fairly quickly. When it does, when it's no longer moving wood, the 2 options are: 1, pushing harder, which destroys the machine, and I'll be really annoyed, or you get new sandpaper. So the rule of thumb is to use sandpaper like it's free. It's not free, unfortunately, but you should use it like it is, otherwise you're going to destroy the sanders. The most common way that these fail, someone will push too hard, it gets too hot, and they'll actually melt and ruin the Velcro on the sanding pad, and we have to replace it. So don't be that person. When it isn't sanding like you want anymore, just get a new piece. That's kind of how it works, unfortunately. Then when you're using it, you pretty much just hold it and move it around. You don't want to sit in one spot, you want to keep moving. The reason they're called random orbital sanders is because they bop all around in random directions, so they don't leave straight lines in the work, versus like a belt sander will leave scratches in one direction. But that said, you still kind of want to move with the grain if you're going to be going back and forth, and make sure to move evenly, or else you're going to have an uneven surface when you're done sanding. So we'll get this hooked up to the shop vac. If you're sanding on here, this is a downdraft table. You can also turn on the dust collector. That will suck extra sawdust down here that doesn't get collected by the dust collector. By the dust extractor that you have plugged in here. You can plug in your sander to the front of the dust extractor, and if you turn this to the tool mode to the left, then this will turn on when you turn the sander on, which is pretty nifty. The other reason why it's good to have the dust extractor or shop vac plugged into here versus just this little bag is that by having that better suction, it'll keep your sandpaper cleaner, so it'll last longer. So really, it's just way better to use the dust extractor. unless you're in some weird situation where you just can't get a shop vac plugged into it for some reason. So we have just this piece of wood, which we'll show sanding. These rubber pads just help keep things from slipping around, which is nice. All right, so I'll plug this into the front of our dust extractor. And we're gonna set this to the drill mode, which just means that it'll turn on when the tool turns on, and we'll plug this end in here. And then I'll show you just a little bit of sanding. Really the most important thing is not to push too hard, but moving around, you can also with this, you can also get the edges and the corners to make sure that it's sanded nicely. It's called breaking the corners or the edges when you have these edges and corners that are still sharp off a saw blade, and so by breaking them, you make it so they aren't sharp anymore. So something you don't want to do that I did a little bit is touching with the corner first. If you touch with the corner first, it'll dig in, make a little divot. You want to make sure to put it on flat so you aren't making a divot, you're sanding it nice and evenly. But that's about all there is to it. When you're done, you can just tear this right off and throw it out. Velcro is really, really strong. And then replace it. When you are done, obviously, as with all tools, make sure to clean up. Then, for these, you can just coil the cord, unplug it from the machine, and stick it right back in its little home here. So, nothing crazy, but hopefully those tips were useful, and I hope you have fun. Thanks for watching.